timing of all this sort of coincided with the conflict ongoing still in the Middle East. How much does the geopolitical uncertainty and instability in the region has to do with how much outreach we're seeing from energy giants in that part of the world to places like Australia for assets?
Well, I think we are going to see, and we already are seeing, interest from the Middle East as they spread the global outlook of the company. So we've seen that with Adnoc, and we're also seeing it with Aramco in Saudi Arabia. So it's a very natural, once you get to a certain critical mass, that you look to take some of the global instability out of the portfolio.
Does external or sort of removed LNG assets remove that choke point risk for the Middle East players?
Certainly it does. Australia is the second largest LNG exporter, so having a portfolio like you have for Santos, which has LNG not just in Australia but also in PNG, with a great line of sight to the Asian markets that are emerging. So it's a great fit for someone who's actually stepping into a more global LNG portfolio.
How does this play out when it comes to FURB, which of course has a pretty big history of blocking takeover bids from state-owned entities, particularly if we're looking at, a part of the world that has so much political and potentially governance volatility at the moment?
Yes, that's the important step when you make an investment in Australia, the Foreign Investment Review Board, which ultimately reports to the Treasurer. So while it's an analytical report, it also plays into the political arena as well. And so top of mind will be infrastructure and energy security for the country. So those are extremely important things to consider. When you look at Santos itself, it doesn't look like it's that big. It's only about 3% of Australia's production when you account for all of the LNG production that's available. But on a domestic gas side, it's much more important. It's 7 to 8% of the East Coast and as much as 20% on the West Coast. Most of those producing assets are extremely mature, late life. They're hard to add to, expand. And so what the government, what the FURB will be liking to see, that the move of Adnoc into Australia will make sure that those assets are properly produced out and, of course, abandoned and taken care of from an environmental point of view. But secondly, the investment necessary for new gas to come on. And Santos's portfolio extends up to the Northern Territory, where they have shale gas potential. And then there's other plays that might be possible around the Cooper Basin, such as Deeper Coals, Granite Wash, that are going to bring on gas to replace those declining fields.
Rick, I just wanted to quickly ask you, as Heidi was kind of alluding to in the earlier point, how much do you think Australia energy producers are going to be capitalizing on, the need for diversification globally when it comes to supplies? Is there a sense of a level that we can expect more production?
Well, that's going to be a balance off, of course, of how much support comes from the government to expand and move into those areas. As you know, we all have quite aggressive net zero carbon targets. So there's mixed signals that come, particularly from the southeast corner of Australia, where they're very aggressively chasing net zero targets and transitioning to renewables. So the ability for Australia to expand and step into and meet that new demand potentially for gas or even oil from the Middle East and give that diversity is somewhat limited. So it's going to be a slow game. I don't see Australian LNG making great expansion in the near term. It'll be producing out assets and more brownfield expansion where they're adding on fields to existing LNG structures. An example of that is Darwin LNG, where the Barossa field is a backfill into Bayu-Undan, and they're looking at Scarborough coming into the Northwest Shelf. The only potential long-term LNG expansion is Browse, so somewhat limited as to how quickly we could step into any great movement.